Hi everybody, it's Nicole again, and I'm here with another video that is personal experience, not to be used as medical advice. I want to talk really quickly. I am in my car, which is kind of weird, but it's, I'm limited in how, in opportunity, but I want to talk really quickly about calibration factor, and I'm doing this because I posted a video the other day and I talked about how stable my calibration factor was, and then I set out the other day to track it from the start of a new sensor. And I realized that maybe it's not quite as stable as what I thought it was, and I feel it's my responsibility to report back to my one viewer that's the case, which might be my son. But anyway, then I tracked it for a couple of days, and I found some really interesting stuff. And I am not losing hope in the calibration factor. It's actually gotten even more powerful potentially as a tool. So I wanted to say this, that I realized that my calibration factor, which I had calculated at about a 5.5, is when my blood sugar is stable. So I added carbs to my diet over the last couple of weeks in order to do a gluten test, a celiac disease test. And adding carbs to my diet has made my blood sugar range really like blow up, whatever. So it complicated my calibration factor, and at first I thought it was because maybe the calibration factor stuff just wasn't any good, but then I realized it is really good, and it actually gives you even more information than what I thought. So I do want to follow this one up with some specific videos, mainly about the two functions that I think at this point, the two functions that can be used with the calibration factor in ISIG. And I would like to do some more data collection before I do that. I have about 6 pages of notes, and it's mind-boggling. But what I think at this point that you can say is that my calibration factor at a 5.5, which I discussed in another video how to calculate it, is what my factor is when my blood sugar is stable. When it goes above a 5.5, it's not because my sugar is high, it's because I'm climbing. And when I go below a 5.5, it's because I'm dropping. So I think the calibration factor, at this point, I think my calibration factor can be used to determine, one, a ballpark blood glucose in a pinch, if I don't have a tester. And that would be about my 5.5. I could calculate that times my ISIG to get ballpark. Or two, if I want to find out which way I'm going, I could calculate my calibration factor using my blood glucose. And I will say this, laying in the hospital bed yesterday in a room in the dark where they had pushed my bed until they were ready, which was odd, but whatever. I had a moment of panic that I knew my sugar was about a 100, somewhere in there. And I knew that I was probably 15 minutes out of a procedure, and I was getting kicked out of auto mode because it was requiring a BG and I didn't have my tester, and I panicked for a couple minutes because I was thinking, what if I have a crash during this procedure? And of course they were all telling me you're fine, which I don't like, but anyway. And so I knew they had just tested my sugar and they told me a 115, which they all say is great. And I also know that it could be great, but it could be the beginning of a sugar crash. So I said, I have a 115. I checked my ISIG. I divided my 115 by my ISIG, and it came out with a 6.2, which meant that I was climbing, not falling. So I don't know if this makes any sense, and I do have to get back and do these two videos separately, but I'd like to say that I'm doing some work on the calibration factor and the ISIG, and it's not necessarily that they're always stable, but there is a real pattern, and it's really cool. I say that all the time. I'm sorry. Okay, and now I'm going to go in and get my child and pretend like I'm not hanging out in the parking lot making YouTube videos. So thank you very much for watching.